So I ended up in the hospital. And when I was lying there, two friends of mine brought in some homeopathic remedies. And I took those homeopathic remedies because I thought, gosh, anything's going to help. And at my follow-up x-rays, my surgeon kind of took a look at me, looked at the x-rays and said, you must be some kind of super healer because I can't believe how fast you've healed. So from there, I just thought, there is something more to this. And then later on, I had a horse who was colicking badly. And I actually had a friend who I asked as well, but I looked up all the remedies that I could think of. And we found a remedy, Scutularia, and the colic symptoms disappeared within about 30 minutes. So everybody around me kind of said, this is crazy. But I just knew I needed to know more, way more.
Hello, homies, and welcome back to Homeopathy Hangout. Today we have Annalisa Percy on the show. Welcome to the show, Annalisa.
Thank you very much for having me. I'm very honored to be here.
And also, huge shout out to Mickey and Kim Aaliyah because at the end of last year, start of this year, I was going week to week with episodes and I'm like, oh, I need some more guests. And then Mickey was like, we've got the Global Natural Health Solutions with loads of incredible speakers. I'll just send them all to you. So I've had all of these amazing people booking the podcast, and now I have the opposite problem where I'm booked out months in ahead with guests. So shout out to Mickey and Kim for sending me all these incredible people, including Annalise. So thank you for being on the show and tell us your journey of how you discovered homeopathy.
Well, I grew up with a mom who she literally took us to a health food store for our groceries, and she taught us to grow food and learn about plants. So later on in life, I was a horse girl. I had to be involved with training horses. I worked with an older horse trainer who used honey and cobwebs on leg wounds and DMSO to keep the jumper's legs tight. And it just kind of seemed a good place to explore. And I heard about homeopathy fairly early on, mainly because I was at that time training racehorses, and one of them flipped over backwards on me. So I ended up in the hospital. And when I was lying there, two friends of mine brought in some homeopathic remedies. Now, one of them knew a homeopath, had asked her advice, of course. And I took those homeopathic remedies because I thought, gosh, anything's going to help. And they were, of course, arnica and symphytum. And at my follow-up x-rays, my surgeon kind of took a look at me, looked at the x-rays and said, you must be some kind of super healer because I can't believe how fast you've healed. So from there, I just thought, there is something more to this. So once I got healed and I started perusing the library content and found this huge book of Kent's Materia Medica. I think I read it all in a couple of days, speed read. So that kind of got me in the homeopathic thinking mode. And then later on, I had a horse who was colicking badly. And I actually had a friend who I asked as well, but I looked up all the remedies that I could think of. And we found a remedy, Scutularia, and the colic symptoms disappeared within about 30 minutes. So everybody around me said, this is crazy. But I just knew I needed to know more, way more. But at the time, life gets in the way. So I took myself to college because I couldn't afford anything else and family was ill at home. So I ended up going into nursing. Healthcare has always been a calling and was planning to go further and perhaps become a physician. But I always had homeopathy at the back of my mind. Everywhere I could, I used it and read about it. And ultimately, again, life interfered with my goals. But I decided that I would join the military as a nursing officer and spent 20 years looking after soldiers, looking after families, sneaking in a few little remedies here and there, and got to be known as the nurse whisperer, as it were. I think I felt that serving my country, but keeping physically fit and keeping that holistic health side of me was really important life goals. Then a little further along the line, I had the finances to consider continuing education again. And this time I chose the College of Homeopathic Medicine, the Canadian College of Homeopathic Medicine. And that kind of unfolded my next book of life. It was amazing. So many wonderful professors there that guided me on my journey, and I really started to understand Hahnemann and the organon and how homeopathy really works holistically instead of trend of fix the part, fix the section of body that isn't working. It's the entire person. And that called to me like nothing else. Then I discovered the Homeopathic Nurses Association when I was actually attending a conference. I think that was one of the earlier JHCs. And was just, I felt like this is it. This is another section. It's part of my calling to combine this homeopathy and nursing. And I'd been looking for that avenue for a while. It's historically, nurses are caretakers. We're known for empathetic and holistic case taking, and we understand the frailties and idiosyncrasies of the human body. We also see drug interactions and side effects and are able to parse them out from actual body symptoms. And that just gives such a unique ability to understand homeopathic case taking. That was something that I still to this day, I was a board member of the HNA for a few years and helpful with the newsletters, developing some of the courses. And I'm still indebted to all the members there. We're close knit, even though we don't talk that much. And yeah, really good people. So many skills there. And then more recently, I joined the Global Natural Health Solutions, and that's amazing. It was different for me from seeing my own clients as a homeopath. There's so much expertise within the group, and it really brings together the ability to see clients in that safe online space and still have the support of a team. So that's my story in a summary.
And you're definitely a life learner by the sounds of it, because you mentioned that you did your BSc at CHE and
That's
you're
right.
currently continuing your education with Dynamis and doing crazy exercise stuff as well. I get tired just listening to you.
Well, I think the physical fitness part of it is basically, I guess, the other side of my holistic idea of what health should be. But I admit I get into things and I'm very passionate about running. And it used to be triathlon and horseback riding and all those things. Yeah, running helps that steam valve on the brain.
Now, I am super interested because you did put in there that you sneaked in a few remedies when you were in the military. How did you get away with that and how was that? Was that appreciated or not so much?
Administration did not appreciate it. However, and that's actually mostly because we had administrative, there's that chain of command, right? And you always have to answer to somebody. Even as a nursing officer, I did have some autonomy and I was actually in charge of what we call the sick parade. So when soldiers come in, when they're not feeling well, when they have injuries, within my scope of practice, I'm allowed to do certain things. And one of them is to make suggestions. So I did suggest lots of arnica. That was probably my go-to because it's so easy to get. And it's available in a form that even the man off the street can walk into a drugstore in most countries anyway and get arnica cream. Word spread and people would come and say, so hey, what would you recommend for? So it gets a little bit, in those days I had no formal education, so I thought it was okay to consult my materia medica and just give a remedy. I didn't have them, I just sent them out to the stores, of course, but we were lucky. We had a great little health food store that had a pretty good stock of remedies, and so we got to know each other quite well.
That's
um,
beautiful. Imagine the incredible work that homeopathy can do, especially from a trauma point of view for
oh,
people in the military. Oh, it
incredible.
should be compulsory for homeopaths to like be on the staff in various military organizations and just, especially if you nip that trauma in the bud so it doesn't then become complex down the track. But
Yes.
anyways, I would also love to hear about just the nurses, the homeopathic nurses. So is that a global organization or is that just in Canada? What are they? What do they do and how does it work?
It is a global organization. Started in the US, but very quickly spread. Our membership's quite small right now, but we're looking to increase that. It really just started with a group of nurses that were, I believe it was a group of nurses who were training in homeopathy who said, this is the perfect marriage. We have to get together. And the courses now that they worked with some of the schools originally, some of the nursing schools. One of our education specialists actually works with one of the universities in Texas. So it developed from there. And it's basically become a group who there's some of the more senior members are able to mentor the nursing students who are interested in homeopathy. Even if you start as a homeopath or if you start as a nurse, you're more than welcome to join. And we have monthly meetings that anybody can actually join as a drop-in. And yeah,
That's
yeah.
wonderful. Do you have the URL for them?
Yes, I believe it is www.nursehomeopaths.org.
I'm going to check that out. Oh, great. So Homeopathic Nurse Association, nursehomeopaths.org. Excellent. Oh, cool. Thanks for that. I'll go and have a read after this. It sounds great. Now, I feel like a couple of days ago, I got an email from somewhere. I don't even know who. Maybe it was from Global Natural Health Solutions because I get so many emails from so many places. But I saw you speaking somewhere. I remember seeing the email. I haven't properly read it, but I think you're speaking somewhere on, is it the COVID reactions and treating
Yes.
COVID? What was that about? How do we find out more about that?
So this is the Homeopathy in Action series that it's the brainchild of Kim Alia, and it's come about through his site Whole Health Now, which is an education site that delivers a lot of homeopathic content. It's fabulous. There's free stuff on it, free courses that anybody can sign up for. There's paid courses as well.
That
But
that would have been
anyway,
where it came from because it was so fun. I saw the
yes.
email come through. I'm like, hey, I know that name. She's booked in the podcast. And then so I just quickly
Yes.
skim read through my other billions of emails in there. But that would have been where it was from. Yeah.
Yeah, so homeopathy in action it's basically a series of presenters who have interesting cases, and it's just really to showcase how homeopathy works and how it can be helpful and what a case taking looks like. And anybody can join and listen. You do actually have to sign up on the Whole Health Now website to be part of that course. But I believe 6 presentations, and some of them have already happened, but they're on the website. You can sign up and still listen to them. But the cases range from autoimmune to vaccine reaction, and can't remember, some of them are still yet to come. But it's really exciting. It's something that a lot of people have put a lot of effort into. And yes, I'm going to be presenting on 2 vaccine reaction cases.
That's super interesting because there's more and more information coming out about the long-term effects of these. And I think more and more people are waking up to the fact that it really is worth doing some preventative things, even if they might not have had any reactions that they know of or have noticed from the vaccine. Their friends around them are suddenly getting turbo cancers and this and that and the next thing. And it's worth, if you had the shot, to go and see a homeopath and just do some general treatment anyway, just to prevent things down the track for sure. I wish I can find that article now, but I saw something posted from some doctors in New Zealand who has just done some research, which, by the way, we need to talk about that next because I know that's a passion of yours. Just some research showing that, these blobs that they found in people post-mortem that have had the vaccine, it's like this plasticky type thing that's not anything like human. And that's causing so many issues, and they now have some research to back it up. It's really worth reaching out to homeopathy because homeopathy has so much to offer, and we see that in our clinics when we've supported these people. So it's wonderful that you're doing a talk, presenting a case as part of the series because all of us need to learn all that we can to help as many of these people as we can. But talk to me a little bit about research because I know that's something that you're really passionate about as well.
Yeah, my degree that I did at CHE, the Center for Homeopathic Education, that was basically a research degree, which is how the university supported it, a degree in science. But our research project was a proposal, and I guess similar to a thesis in a way, but it was a research proposal that we actually had to follow all the rules. And I do believe that mine wasn't close enough to actually request research funding, submit to any of the boards, but it was really interesting doing it. So it gave me the goal to, at some point, set up some research and to get a sponsorship for a study. And in general, nurses that would like to get into research do need to have a doctor to basically be the touch person for
Hmm.
your case. So I've actually participated in research just on the hospital side. I worked in hospital quite a few years. Actually, I think I've been a nurse for about 30 years. And when I worked at the pediatric hospital, we did quite a few research studies where we were the inclusion exclusion folks. So basically, we were doing the intake for the research studies and deciding whether they fit the inclusion exclusion criteria, and then doing all the basic interview and testing and so on. We didn't get to do much writing for that, but I'm actually now I've been a patient advocate for orthopedic surgeon that I know, and am helping with that research. So I'm hoping to step that off into my own study. I just haven't quite decided where it's going, but I do have a big interest in autoimmune and how homeopathy can change the course of an autoimmune patient's life.
I've often wondered, a lot of homeopaths say we need more research to convince people, we need more research to convince people, but we've got quite a bit already. And I don't know, the type of people who can't be convinced that homeopathy, is valid and valuable. I don't know if there's anything that's ever really going to please them, because even if you have lots of research, they're going to pull that apart and say, oh, it didn't have enough people in it, or it didn't have a control group, or it didn't have a this or a that. So, research is amazing, but I sometimes wonder about focusing our energies there. Although I'm really glad that there are people who are doing that because I think it is really helpful. But I think we should do it for our own sake, not to try and please anyone else, because I don't know. I just had a skeptic on my personal Facebook page yesterday say, oh, all these 18,000 trials said homeopathy doesn't work. And I'm like, oh, that's a shame. It must be my mistake. I'll go and tell all my hundreds of clients that I've helped with homeopathy that they must be mistaken. It's just going to be a little bit harder telling my dogs and my plants who also healed from homeopathy that they were mistaken as well. So,
Yeah.
oops, my bad. Everyone who said they got healed from it must be mistaken. So, yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know. Some of these people you're not going to convince, and that's their journey, but that's totally fine too. But I'm super glad there are people that are doing research out there, and HRI is amazing. I think they're working tirelessly. I've had Rachel Roberts on the podcast as well. Alex
Mhm.
Tounier, if you listen, or anyone who
Yes,
knows,
I absolutely,
please
yes.
come on the show. I've tried to get him on for years now. The podcast is celebrating its fifth birthday in August. At least four and a half of that 5 years I've been trying to get him on.
Oh, that would be wonderful.
It would be
I've heard him
amazing.
speak at some of the HRI videos and so on. And I'm fascinated with how I know we've said for years, we just know homeopathy works the way, well, do you know actually how a cell phone works? Yeah, same thing. We're not going to explain it to everybody. However, the actual intricacies of how homeopathy works, like the nanomedicine and some of Iris Bell's work, it's just fascinating to me. And I think to be able to put it into medical terms and to put the research on the same level. So we need really high quality research then to say this is irrefutable. This cannot be argued because, here's the method, here's the outcome, etc. And say that this is on a cellular level how homeopathy affects and helps to heal the DNA via cellular signaling. And this, I think, would help the medical world, those naysayers. It would help them to say, well, okay, you have a mechanism, you have methods, you have natural medicine plus the energetic influence of these medicines. Okay, we'll buy it. I
Mm.
think that's in the pipes. I think that is going to happen. And it's just a question of how we get there and when we get there. But I agree. HRI's done some groundbreaking stuff, and it's amazing to watch those videos. And I think I have to watch them 3 times to understand them.
No, amazing. What else can you share with us? I know that you work with animals as well. You rescue lots of animals. I mean, I'm assuming you use homeopathy with them as well.
Of course. Even going back to my horse days, without knowing much, I had some pretty cool curative reactions going back to my horse with colic. So I function as a medical rescue for dogs. We're actually posted to Texas right now, where I'm Canadian, but in Texas, it's common for a lot of backyard breeders to just dump the dogs out on the streets. So ever since we've been here, I've been taking in rescues that need more care. So ones that have wounds and require wound care. Some of them have had even gunshot wounds and open wounds that require quite an effort to heal. And some of them are behavioral. If you can imagine the abandonment issues, some of them, of course, have been very badly treated. So there's a lot of trust issues. So I absolutely have been using homeopathy all along. It's kind of amazing. I mean, the one little rescue girl, I just gave her a dose of Staphylococcus aureus, and
Mm.
her whole personality changed. She would not look straight at you. She would hide, stay in a corner. And then as soon as she had the remedy, she started looking and actually meeting your eye contact. And that's a trust thing with dogs. So that was amazing for her. I've had a really challenging one most recently. He came in with gunshot wounds and open sores and an open, really awful shredded leg, and three of his joints were subluxed or dislocated. So he's had quite a few remedies by now, but he's done really well. We have other modalities because we've got some very good fundraisers and sponsors for the rescue, but he actually had a combination of hyperbaric treatment
Oh,
and really good veterinarian treatment. And let's see, what was the interesting thing, that the remedy that really resonated for a long time with him, gunpowder,
oh, wow.
which I kind of thought of it because he has gunshot wounds, but all his symptoms were found in that remedy. And it's not a well-known remedy, but it was so helpful. And he's then gone to, I believe, calcarea sulfurica. Just that's where I found his symptoms again after doing a quick repertorization. And that one is significant for osteomyelitis as well. That's one of the indications. So yeah, I've had some beautiful healings. And dogs are great because they're not going to, there's no placebo effect in animals, right? As we've said. So when they're better, they're better.
It sounds like there's another documentary just in that. You're treating your
I would
animals.
say yes. Yes.
Amazing.
Yeah. In my prior life, I wanted to become a veterinarian and
Oh,
never did, but I've known some very good veterinarian homeopaths.
amazing. Yeah, animals respond so well to homeopathy. It's incredible. And it's so important that we remember that for the mental, emotional side of things for animals as well. It can be so helpful. You actually wrote something really interesting in your notes about how you're more focused on disease symptoms. And I wonder if that's maybe your nursing background, but tell me a little bit about what you mean by that.
I think because my brain thinks in a more clinical pattern when I see a patient, I default to, let's look at all the physical symptoms first. Now, I've had some good cases that have really taught me the importance of not eliminating the mental cases. However, the clinical symptoms, the actual symptoms of the body, that's the language of the body. That, and even in Hahnemann, in his teachings, he taught us that when we see symptoms like the expression of the vital force, that is telling us where to go to find the remedy. And even when we give a remedy, I think that's aphorism 167, where we give a remedy that is not quite, it's not the simillimum, it's only covering part of the symptoms. But then we get symptoms, the accessory symptoms that actually we would not want to continue with that remedy, but we would want to then look at those accessory symptoms, retake the case, and find the remedy that the body symptoms are trying to show us. And I don't say it as well as he did, but every time we consider symptoms from the body, it's it is that language, the language of the vital force, that is telling us we need this to balance our organs. And I guess when there's a weak place in the body, that is, say you've got someone who has a weak liver, perhaps from a genetic tendency that whatever miasm is affecting them, and then sometimes even the appropriate, well selected remedy, it can't fully do the job because there's a weak link there. So again, that goes back to, what's this body trying to tell me? And I definitely like to see lab tests and all those clinical things that will give me more information. I think actually Hahnemann would have appreciated having some of these diagnostics. I really do. He was a man of science after all, and he liked details, I think. So I think with considering a weak link in a symptom, you can then say, okay, I think I need to do an intercurrent remedy for organ support, and then perhaps return to that original well-selected remedy. And I've had some good cases like that that really show that you can have your symptoms and you can have your holistic picture, but if you don't hear that language, if you don't hear what the body's telling you, you can miss things. And yeah, it's become very important to me.
It can get so messy as well with some clients, especially when they're on a lot of medications, to know what's actually the symptom that you're seeing of the drug side effects or versus the client. But I'm guessing that with your medical background, it's probably a little bit easier for you to see when you see what medication somebody's on, and you can go, oh, that's from the drug. That's probably your body talking to us, and that one's from the drug.
Yes, and you're right. It can get very messy because sometimes the side effects become so adopted by the person, and it's something that, it's been part of their life. So, in order to separate them, sometimes that's a little bit difficult, and it can even be hard on them if you're actually using, and I would say this is probably not the way we should be using homeopathy, but there are times where you get tempted to say, I'm going to give this for that. And that can cause issues if you're trying to get rid of a symptom that is basically a side effect of a medication. It can leave the person in distress. And so, for example, say that I had someone with cancer and this person had symptoms of numbness and tingling in their hands from the chemotherapy. And say they had adapted to that by using perhaps massage and perhaps anything that's a kinesthetic modality that would help. So if you then treat just those side effect
Mm.
symptoms with a remedy to support, then maybe something like hypericum, then I could see that could actually cause a proving symptom. It could actually drive that symptom into, like, it could make it more painful for that person. And I've seen that cancer in particular is quite difficult in some cases anyway. And I would say that in some of those cases, I do take a very holistic case in that it's a head to toe, mental, emotional, dream world. What is this person like that has the disease, not what is the disease like? And then I start to say, okay, this is from the drugs, but I'm still going to prescribe on the whole person for now. I think that side effects are their body reactions, right? So they are also symptoms. So that's where it gets complicated. And I have to say, I'm very glad for all my pharmacology courses and knowing that the person with that's on the heart medications, that cough doesn't belong to them, it belongs to the heart medications.
Mm.
But then it gets complicated in that how were they treating, were they self-treating that cough and taking other medications? So yeah, it becomes difficult to parse it all out. However,
Mm.
yes, I am very grateful for knowing what belongs to what and how
Yeah.
to help that person with the best remedy I can find.
Yeah, that's definitely helpful. Tell us a little bit more about Global Natural Health Solutions because we've had a couple of people from there on so far. So just tell us a little bit about how it works and how people book. And do you have your own private practice separate from GNHS? Or how
No,
does it work? Okay. So,
no, it's,
yeah.
yeah. So it's a group of health professionals that, again, we were recruited by, well, actually, I think it was just Kim and Mickey, Elia, that were doing the recruiting. They had sent out an email, I think, that I answered. And I've been a student of whole health now for years. And I guess I answered the call, but it's a group practice. And we have a team now, I think of, gosh, I think we're six. We ask the person to join the group and they have their service fees, obviously, but you can
So you mean the
book and it's
client?
just
You
a,
ask the client to join
yes,
the Global
sorry,
Natural
yes.
Health Solution. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah. So we basically have clients, but they're under the umbrella of Global Natural Health Solutions so that we match, or at least the administrative team, they match the best practitioner to the client. So they do an intake and figure out which practitioner would most suit that person. We take families, we take single people, and there's several price options because not everybody has the finances. And I guess homeopathy in general can be a little more expensive than people expect, but we're definitely worth it.
Mm.
We provide a lot of support, all conditions, really. And the resources are pretty incredible. We also are linked with React 19. That is a group that is providing support for vaccine injured.
Oh, wow.
And there was an offering that we as a group agreed to take on some clients pro bono through React 19 for people who had been vaccine injured. And I think we'll be doing other promotions and so on like
Mm.
that. But essentially, the framework is that we are naturopaths and homeopath, and we take clients separately, but we see the clients on our own, and then we have a group, I guess, sounding board
Mm.
to go through any issues, any thoughts. It's like a group case taking in a way. Although some of the cases, if we don't require help with them, we just take the case and prescribe a remedy. We're associated with full script, so it's a fairly seamless process that the client can get their own remedies. And we provide follow-ups and continuing support as required.
That is amazing. Annalisa, is there anything that we've missed? Anything else that you wanted to share with our listeners today?
I guess hopeful that we can expand our services at GNHS and also the Homeopathic Nurses Association. I would love to grow our membership. So, any nurses out there who are listening, we're actively recruiting new members and have sponsorships and all sorts of fun things. And I guess I just want to say I'm so thankful for this homeopathic family worldwide. I feel that as a homeopath, there's so much that we can offer people to help balance, to help bring that life force out and make people as healthy as we can. I think medicine tends to see full circle trends. And I think this current trend of vaccine injury and antibiotic resistance and terrible
Topical
side
steroid
effects of,
withdrawal.
yes, so
Yeah.
many side effects of
Mm.
conventional drugs. I really see homeopathy as the medicine of the future. Naturopathic care and homeopathic practitioners, I think, will become more and more popular. And I think that will bring us back full circle to the years when we had homeopathic hospitals and probably even more homeopathic hospitals than conventional care facilities. I think the work that the research institutes like HRI are doing, that will underline some of the mechanisms of action of homeopathy and really get the medical community, the rest of the world, listening.
I think a lot of us have been saying for a long time homeopathy is the medicine of the future, but you know what? Homeopathy is the medicine for right now. There's literally
Yes.
never been a better time with all of these COVID vaccine reactions and this shocking epidemic of chronic disease. It is the medicine of right now. There's no better time. It's the
I
medicine of
agree.
yesterday, right now, the future, every single second in between. And it is a huge honor to get to be on this journey and get to serve people in this way. We are very privileged to get to do this work. It's a true honor. It's a true, yeah, a calling, an honor, a privilege. It's wonderful. I can't imagine doing anything else with my life.
I can't
Aside from
either
being a
now.
mum and a wife, I like that part too, but being a homeopath's also amazing. Now, you have a website as well. We're going to put in the show notes because it's a little bit long to type out because you may change it before this goes out. So we'll just put in the show notes and I'll have your details there and your email address as well. Is there any other way that you want people to contact you or reach out to you?
I'd love to be contacted through GNHS, and I'm also listed as a practitioner on the Homeopathic Nurses Association.
Oh, cool. And GNHS, you can go to gnhshealing.com is their website, so you can find
Yes,
more
that's right.
information
Yeah.
on there. Amazing. It was lovely to hang out with you, Annalisa. And thanks, Mickey and Kim, for sending me all these amazing people to chat with. The interesting
I am
stories
so
to share.
honored.
It's such a
Thank you
pleasure.
so much for having me.
Have a wonderful day, and I'll chat with you again soon.
All right. Thank you so much.